Do you need a reliable firm of solicitors that genuinely cares about your business and wants to grow with you on your entrepreneurial journey? Well, look no further. Birdi Co Solicitors is an ambitious law firm offering a range of business law services and solely works with small and medium-sized enterprises, larger corporates, and high net worth individuals. The firm was founded by Kush Birdi, a highly experienced corporate and commercial solicitor with wide-ranging expertise in mergers and acquisitions, corporate restructuring, corporate litigation, shareholder disputes, investment, share options, incentives, and commercial property. Kush spotted a real need for a modern thinking law firm that delivers an exceptional quality of service without charging the high rates that larger law firms do. This law firm is one to watch as it is fast establishing itself as the go-to law firm in London, Essex, other home counties, and further afield for business law services. At Birdi Co Solicitors, clients' interests are above all. To reach out to them, head on to their website on www.birdilaw.com and submit a contact form, or simply drop them an email or give them a call. Our today's guest is redefining the legal service industry. He is the managing partner at one of the fastest growing law firms in the UK, which prides itself in excellence and top of the range client care. He is a specialist in all things corporate and commercial and has great results to show for it. A Formula One and Friends fan, the guy you will all want to be friends with after this episode. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm so excited to present to you Mr. Kush Birdi, the managing partner at Birdi Co Solicitors based in London and Essex. Hello, Kush, and welcome to Law Simplified.
Hi, Farine, you're all right. Thanks for having me here today.
I am very well, thank you. Thank you so much for joining us. Can I just start off by saying many congratulations on becoming a dad
Yeah.
and crossing your first year in business.
I know, it's crazy, right? I mean, it's absolutely mental, but I know it's all fun and games. So
some great things happening in the Birdi household. How are the sleepless nights and diaper changes going?
Yeah, it's mixed really, because sometimes I'm in the office. When I'm at home, it is quite full on, to be fair. The nights aren't too bad. I'm okay. I'm okay in the night. I do get up, have to do the feeds and the changing and all that, especially the unexpected changing sometimes comes at a surprise. But it's not too bad on the whole, and actually I'm quite loving it, to be fair. So
kudos to you. Many congratulations again. And what have you been up to today?
Today, I've been very busy today, doing a range of different things, from having a meeting this morning with our IT provider because we're having some sort of IT issues really across our devices. So we're looking to get someone in to really take control of that. And I think I've really just messed it up in terms of the way we set it all up in the first place. So it's best to get the specialist in really, to sort of sort it all out for us and make sure that we're running properly and efficiently. So I had a meeting with them this morning just to go through some of the issues. And then I made some protein pancakes, which is kind of like my guilty pleasure at the moment. And then just replying to emails. I've been giving out a lot of fee quotations recently and just been trying to follow up because, you know, part of running a firm is, you know, obviously generating the business and making sure that you're ticking over in that regard. So just following up with people, etc. And then preparing for this wonderful podcast.
Sounds like a bit of a packed day for you today. Although the pancakes sound nice, I'll be sure to take a trip to London to Birdi Co and enjoy your pancake.
Yeah, come, yeah, with some blueberries as well to go with it.
Oh, fantastic. That sounds great. Well, thank you so much for that, Kush. I think we can get started and sort of address your journey to becoming a solicitor. So why don't you tell our audiences what sort of inspired you to become a solicitor?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that, well, I'm originally from Nottingham in the East Midlands, and during my degree, I did a whole raft of work experience. I did a law degree, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you go on to be a solicitor or even a barrister. But when I did work experience at law firms in London, or mini pupilages in London as well, just the stimulation, I suppose, intellectual stimulation is what it was, and just the technicalities of the law really attracted me, especially to the commercial and corporate law elements. And in terms of becoming a solicitor, I actually originally wanted to be a barrister. So yeah, I wanted to go to the commercial bar.
Oh, wow.
And throughout my degree, I was like, okay, I need to do as many mini pupilages as possible. I'm going to get pupillage. And then as I kind of got to the crunch, choosing between doing the bar course or the LPC, which is obviously a commitment either way, I started thinking, and it was kind of, I guess it was a bit of doubt in my mind as to whether I would secure that pupillage, because in the commercial bar, most of the pupils were like double, triple first class Oxford, Cambridge degrees. And you're a bit like, well, am I really even going to compete here? So I kind of doubted myself a little bit, I suppose. Went down the solicitor route because I thought that if I did want to become barrister at a later stage, it is easier to convert than it is from a barrister to a solicitor. And I kind of chose that avenue to be a solicitor rather than a barrister, which is quite interesting. But I think on the whole, it's worked out very well for me, and I'm actually glad that it went that way, to be fair. So that was my journey, really. I did all my studying in Nottingham, and then based on my work experience that I'd done in London, I wanted to come down to London. So as soon as I'd finished my studies, my LPC, I moved straight down to London, started as a paralegal, and then within a couple of months, my training contract. Yeah, and then, throughout my training contract, I was predominantly doing commercial litigation, because although I trained at a small firm, we did a lot of like corporate litigation work in the High Court, and then I was coming back to the office to do conveyancing. So it was a real mixture, and the demands of a smaller firm as well, which we are now.
Yeah.
You have to do those different things. So, going from conveyancing, not to put that down in any way, but it is different. It's a different pressure than it is going to courts, or when there's a trial. A few weeks of intensity like that, it's very different. So jumping into the different sort of files was a bit of a challenge, but that was then my journey to becoming a solicitor, and ultimately qualified with that background. And I felt, had a lot of responsibility, which was great.
Fabulous.
So that's a little bit about my journey.
Yeah, thank you so much, Kush. And £1 million question, do you think that perhaps you might sort of give commercial bar a go? Because you could easily go on to now qualify as a barrister. Is that something that still interests you?
I don't think so, to be honest with you. I did consider, actually, when I qualified as a solicitor, or even before that, I did consider, I want to get my higher rights of audience qualification, which, I would recommend, to be fair, which I never actually did. I guess time perhaps just passed, I guess, and I was just in my element wherever I was at the time. I don't think I would consider, to be fair, because I'm quite happy where I am. I quite like the business element of being a solicitor and running a solicitor's practice. With being a barrister, I may be wrong, but I wonder if it perhaps is more of a lonelier journey, maybe. And yeah, so not that that's a reason not to be a barrister. I just think that I'm quite happy. I quite like the solicitor practice and running that sort of the business elements of that.
That's so great to hear. And we're going to address that in a moment. Had it not been law, Kush, had it not been law at all, did you perhaps have a different sort of career choice in mind as an alternative?
Oh, it's a very tough one, because if you go down like sort of like an academic route, then I suppose, I mean, my dad's a doctor, and it's weird how I've got two brothers. None of us three went into the medical profession, so perhaps that might have been a natural sort of option. On the sort of more fun side, I suppose, I'd love to have been a Formula One driver.
Oh, that sounds exciting.
yeah, really exciting. Because I'm a big Formula One fan. That would be pretty cool. But that's sort of like, I guess, the dream type situation, rather than kind of like the professional, kind of like traditional route, I suppose.
Yeah.
So I would say one of those things, really.
Yeah.
But nothing else really sparked my interest, to be fair. I quite like the analytical side of the law, because I was quite good at like the math side. maths in my A levels and stuff, and that's very analytical, critical thinking, etc. So it quite suited my brain. So yeah.
Oh, well, that sounds amazing. So you've now gone on to set up your own firm, Birdi and Co, a client-centered firm based in London and Essex. Can you give us a bit of a snapshot into your journey of establishing your own firm and what inspired you to do that?
Yeah, absolutely. So as I mentioned before, I always enjoyed the business side of being a solicitor. So every lawyer, I believe, is different. So some lawyers really enjoy the legal work, which is absolutely fine. Some people enjoy business development and getting clients. I enjoyed sort of both of those things. And I was really, as I became a bit more senior, I was really motivated by sort of the business side and thinking, oh, I can make a difference to this client. I'm going to go out and find this client, and then I'm going to make the difference to their legal aspects of their business, I suppose. And I find that really rewarding. And I think that I also wanted a bit more control over sort of the work that I was doing, etc. When you're in like a traditional structure, you're very much, if you're in my previous role, I was a commercial and corporate solicitor, and obviously that's the department that you're in working. And I just wanted a bit more, and that sort of made me think, well, maybe I can set up my own firm, maybe I can put my own spin on a brand as a firm. Maybe I can build a base of clients where they want to come to me, and I've gone out there and secured that work and had that rewarding experience, which really does reward me. And I always thought about working in a larger firm in the city. I had offers from some larger city firms to work, which is of course an attractive option, and I could have gone down that route. But I always, in the back of my mind, I always knew that I wanted to own my own business, firstly, and be in control of sort of the legal work that I do. So yeah, that was most of the inspiration, really. And yeah, so I spent sort of so I've been set up for 1 year. For sort of 2 years prior to that, when the onset of COVID, I guess, made me start thinking as well, because you're working from home, you're thinking, oh, like, I'm part of this company, working for this company, but I'm actually just working from home. If I set up my own company, then why can't I do that? So then I just thought, well, okay, I'm going to make the jump.
Wow. And what an excellent job you've done, Kush. And we're going to talk about that in just a second, because there's so many things happening for Kush, Birdi and Co. So I think perhaps it's good to sort of speak about your vision. What is your vision for Birdi and Co?
Okay, interesting one, because it's something that me and my wife were just discussing the other day in terms of the vision, because you've always got to keep checking in on, are you fulfilling the vision? So it's a strange one, because before I set up the firm, you have a vision of what the firm is going to look like, how it's going to be marketed, who the clients are going to be, what your role is going to be with the businesses that you work with, because we mostly work with business clients. And then a year in, I mean, the vision is the same. What I stand for really is essentially this. I want to be a firm that is a go-to for small to medium-sized enterprises based in London and around London and Essex. And it doesn't have to be sort of like the traditional city firm that they're instructing. They can go to someone, a smaller firm, perhaps more personable, and didn't have to be part of that traditional structure to have access to legal services, I suppose. So that's something that I really want to achieve. In terms of the vision, I would love to build a team. I think that would be really, really rewarding from a business perspective. Some firms want to stay small, some firms want to grow. I would love to grow, build a team. We have different practice areas, although we don't have like departments like sort of the larger firms do. We do offer different practice areas, and we often serve clients from a different practice area perspective, such as corporate and commercial property and employment, etc. And my vision is really to build a firm and a team as large as possible. There's no limits, that can serve clients like that from a multifaceted perspective, different practice areas. that's really my vision. So I'd love to be able to manage that team, and yeah, so and just build a great workforce and serve clients to the best of our ability.
That is so exciting. And can I say that we have been following your journey of setting up Birdi Co, and a lot of it you
I'm
share on
following yours
LinkedIn.
as well.
Do you? Well, thank you very much, Kush. And a lot of it you share on LinkedIn. So I think it's probably a good point here to say to people listening into this podcast that watch out, because Kush is here and he's making noise in legal search. And I mean that because I have witnessed your journey and I'm seeing just the great things that you're achieving and the great results that you have achieved. And we've seen that through client reviews that you have been sharing. Now, Leena Birdi joined your firm recently as a partner. She is extensively experienced, just like you, in corporate and commercial areas of law. Exciting times for you, Kush. Nice to
Very,
have.
very exciting time. She's a great addition to the firm, actually. Although, so we've recently obviously had the baby as well, and she's joining the firm. It's all happening in the Birdi household right now. She's a great addition to the team. We actually met at our previous roles at another firm. That is how we met. So the beginning of our journey was working as lawyers in a law firm. And then obviously, we got together, then we got married during COVID. We had a COVID wedding. So for her, and then she worked at another firm before joining Birdi Co. So for her to join now is very much what we know in a sense. And what we're used to, and so we like that as well. So I mean, obviously we have to try and find some balance of work and outside work, etc. And I'm sure the baby will bring that, is bringing that. So yeah, very exciting times, and we're looking to grow even more. So we're actually on the lookout for some people at the moment.
Excellent. And could you tell our audiences what types of work Birdi Co does? Could you share some of your recent cases that you've dealt with?
Yeah, absolutely. So in terms of the way we market the firm, so we offer services in 6 distinct practice areas: corporate law, commercial property, employment, litigation and dispute resolution, and banking and finance. Now, that's obviously a breadth of practice, and I have personal experience in all those practice areas. In terms of sort of my LinkedIn sort of profile, in terms of what I'm known for, what I've done, the majority of is the corporate and commercial law overlapped with some of the others, and at the moment the corporate and commercial aspect is around 85% of what we do. So mergers and acquisitions, buying, selling companies. Perhaps you've got a couple who are retiring, they're selling their business. We would get involved with that kind of thing on the buying side. And we have clients that are looking to buy up in different sectors, such as nurseries, care homes, dentist practices. We've acted on, and we will get involved with those acquisitions as well, dealing with the legal aspects. But outside of that, we do have clients, such as we have some influencer clients, where we serve them not only on sort of the commercial contract side, maybe they're entering into influencer contracts, etc. They need them reviewed, or maybe we act for another client where we're actually engaging influencers and we're drafting their influencer contracts to engage the influencers. But we also support those same clients with like their freelancers agreements, employment contracts. We've recently drafted employee handbooks for one of these particular clients in the influencer sector, and dealing with their commercial property space lease, those kind of things. So although predominantly what we do is mergers, acquisitions, corporate, commercial law, we have some clients where we actually serve them on a broader scale, which again goes back to the vision of where we actually want to go, where we actually want to get to, which is really, really great. So a range of things.
Fabulous. And all of that, of course, if anybody requires any legal assistance in all of those legal areas, they're able to reach out to you on LinkedIn, for example, and head
Absolutely.
onto your website.
Absolutely, yeah. LinkedIn is so powerful. I think LinkedIn is an absolute game changer. I love LinkedIn. It can be difficult to post frequently and make sure you're coming up with all fresh ideas. I'm sure you know that more than anyone.
Yes.
But yeah, definitely accessible on LinkedIn. Just don't hesitate to DM me or anything like that.
And I can vouch for that, actually, because I've DM'd you so many times, haven't I, Kush? And you're so great. You're so great. You
Oh,
respond
thanks, Reen.
so quickly. Thank you so much for that, Kush. Now going to move on to a bit of law. So can I ask you, Kush, what advice would you give to businesses, new and old, that solely rely on, let's say, a company's house to reflect the makeup of their company? Do you recommend that they have in place agreements and documents as well?
A really good question, Farine. Thank you. We do get this coming up quite frequently, actually, because we have a lot of business clients, very sophisticated clients in what they do. But when it comes to the law, they're just not quite sure. And with Companies House, if you've got a company, obviously there's a public record and it will show the history of the company. It will show like changes in shareholdings and accounts, etc. But there's a number of clients, when we speak to them, they think that if some ownership in shares have been transferred to another party, they can update Companies House, update the public record, and that's job done. But that's far from the case, because there are certain legal formalities that have to be complied with in order to transfer ownership of shares. That's done by a stock transfer form, but there are other requirements as well and other legal considerations that should be had, and that requires documents to be in place. So yes, I would recommend documents to be in place, and not just to rely on what the public record at Companies House says, because effectively the law says you must tell Companies House that these certain corporate events have happened. But that doesn't mean that they've actually happened just because that's what you filed. You have to have the documents that actually make that legal event a reality. So if you've transferred some shares or given someone some shares and you've updated the record, that doesn't actually mean those shares belong to that person. And that could have an effect if someone wants to sell those shares on later down the line. It could affect that sale because they won't be able to demonstrate the documentation is all there. So yeah, absolutely. In fact, a specific example, if I may, that I had recently is someone that we had a client looking to restructure their company at very short notice, and I gave them a quotation, and they said, "Oh my God, is it going to cost me that much? Can't I just update Companies House?" And then, of course, we had the conversation, and they had no idea. And it was actually quite technical, and we managed to get it done with all the legal documents in place. The restructure was done for tax purposes, so that means that if HMRC want to know more information about what's happened, there's documentation there to show it.
And you've heard it here, folks. If you are a business that does not have in place any agreements or documents, please reach out to Kush right away, and he will definitely be able to assist. Can I also ask you, Kush, I think something that ties in with this is your terms and conditions. All businesses have terms and conditions which dictate how they operate. Why do you say it's important for businesses to have their terms and conditions reviewed by lawyers?
It's so important because at the end of the day, if you're selling your products or services, and you need to know what your legal protection is in that situation. So if you're selling goods online or in your shop, what are the rules for returns, damages to products, etc. What's your liability or maximum liability if there was going to be a claim against you? If it's a service-based business, if you're signing people up to long-term contracts, what does the customer have the right to terminate early? If they do, do they have to pay any money to you, like compensation or whatever? And it's really important to have those points and other points looked at by competent solicitors, because, for example, in the example of a long-term contract, if a customer were to terminate early and you said, well, you have to pay the full price for the term of the contract in order to get out of it, that might not fly, because a court might not uphold that as a clause. In other words, basically say that that's not valid. And if a legal professional hasn't reviewed those particular terms, then you could be left unprotected in effect from a legal perspective, and that's a risk to your business. So having your terms and conditions reviewed and making sure they are fit for purpose for your business, not just any business. You can get free terms off the internet, etc., but they're not fit for purpose for your business. If you are, another example might be if you're engaging professionals to do some work for you, design work, let's say, for you, you want to make sure that you own the intellectual property in that work. But if your terms and conditions don't really cover that point, then you may not be protected and may not be able to use the work that's been produced for you in the way that you want to use it. So that's another reason why, you know, contracts and business terms should be reviewed by competent professionals. So that, again, there's all sorts of reasons why, but the overarching point is protect your business. Having your terms and conditions reviewed is an investment, because the return on that investment is going to be mitigating or reducing potential liabilities or losses to your business.
Thank you so much for that, Kush. That is very helpful. And a very important sort of message to business owners. I think what tends to happen is that when you're really busy building the company, you know, the HR and all other things, the product or the service that one is sort of offering to the public, sometimes the legal aspects sort of take a back seat. And it's important that actually they take the front seat, because in the future, it can really impact the business. And so it's really, really important what you've said, that everybody that's watching this podcast, please review your terms and conditions, have, you know, Kush review them, and make sure that you have in place the agreements and documents that you do, and protect yourself. Kush, we're now going to move on to a bit of a quick fire round and get to know you as a person. Can I start off by asking you, I think this is a bit of a tricky question. What is your biggest regret in your professional life?
Professional life, I would say, well, firstly, I would say I don't have any big cliche answer, but I don't have any big regrets, because, you know, part of that is, you know, I wouldn't be where I am now if I didn't do what I've done so far. But I would definitely make the point that I would have loved to have really engaged with the skills of public speaking at an early stage in my career, because I think that you can really make a difference to your, you know, brand and image, which is so critical nowadays, by doing public speaking events. And it is something that I have and am toying with, but I do feel like if I was already advanced in that skill, then it would obviously help a lot. And I think it's quite enjoyable as well, because I've done public speaking before, but I haven't always felt the most confident. I've done advocacy in the past, but I think it's a very different skill. Advocacy and general public speaking is different.
Yes. Yeah.
And so, yeah, I would love to have done something like Toastmasters or something like a really early stage. In fact, my training principal during my training contract actually recommended that I join Toastmasters, but I didn't. And I did go just before COVID. I went once with one of my old colleagues, and it was great, and it went well. I got one of the little awards for the evening.
Fantastic.
Because they told us to speak just off the cuff for a minute about something.
Okay.
And it was really good. I really wanted to join and go every single week, but then COVID happened, so it all stopped. I suppose I should probably rejoin now, but that's probably something that I would definitely wish that I'd done. Yeah,
definitely a valuable one.
for sure.
Okay, so second question, Kush, what advice would you give to your younger self?
Probably lots of advice, I would say, to be fair. I guess links to what I just said about, you know, building as many skills as you can at an early stage. You never know when you are going to need to deploy them, and there's so many skills which are transferable, such as public speaking. I think whatever sector you're in, whatever you're doing, that's always going to help and give you confidence speaking wherever. So that's just linked to the point I said before. But other than that, I would say that network is everything. Network is everything. And I think the advice that I would give to my younger self is meet as many people as possible, as early as possible, and focus on building genuine relationships, like meeting people and building genuine relationships with people, meet up with them, learn about them, because I think that, you know, get advice from them as well. I think that that's really can make a massive difference in your journey. And not just that, you can make big differences to somebody else's journey. And I think that's makes the whole journey more satisfying as well, because it's kind of in collaboration with others. And it's something that I really enjoy now. So I would definitely say, I would definitely advise myself to do that as early as possible. But you learn with experience, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I've just learned something from you, so thank you very much, Kush. And actually, I love networking, and actually, I think we sort of met or came across one another because of LinkedIn,
Yeah,
a form
absolutely.
of networking platform. So it is vital to network. I actually looked into you, Kush, and I know that you're a fan of Friends. Is that right?
I mean, who isn't?
I know, me too. Who's your favorite character? Do you have
Oh
a
no,
favorite?
that's probably the toughest question you've asked so far. I don't know. I'd probably have to say Ross.
Oh, yes. Yeah, I love Ross. I love
Yeah, I'd have to say
Phoebe.
Ross.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
love
yeah, as
Phoebe too.
well. Yeah.
She's hilarious.
I mean, they're all
um,
great.
they are great, aren't they? Okay, well, thank you so much for joining us today, Kush. Can I ask you for any closing comments for our audiences, any businesses that are listening in, if they want to reach out to you, how do they do that? On any sort of, nuggets of information that you might want to share.
Yeah, absolutely. I would say that at the moment we seem to be heading into perhaps maybe uncertain times with the economy, etc. And there are a lot of business owners out there who are maybe perhaps worried about what is coming in terms of economic situation and how their business is going to fare in that situation. There's talks of recession, etc. So I would say that you don't always have to speak to a lawyer or your solicitor when when you have a legal problem. There's no reason why you can't call a solicitor or speak with a solicitor, before problems arise. If a client called me and said, I am what's going on with the economy at the moment, what should I be thinking about? I'd be at the end of the phone saying, think about, are your terms and conditions up to scratch? Are you protected in the event that your customers don't pay you because they're going out of business, etc., due to recessionary circumstances or whatever? So we can start thinking about those kind of things before problems arise. Are you looking to sell your business and exit in the next few years? Okay. Any buyer is going to be doing lots of due diligence on your company and basically scrutinizing everything, all the documents in your business. Can we do anything to address that now? Those kind of things. Yeah, that's what I'd say. If anyone wants to contact me, please feel free to reach out, either phone, email, LinkedIn, or
Yes.
come and find me somewhere.
Or
Always
your
happy to
new
have a chat.
office. Yeah.
Or our office, for
Your
sure.
new office. We saw that post, Kush. Many congratulations on that as well. So
Oh,
you are
thanks.
now near Liverpool Street.
Yes, that's correct. Closest station is Moorgate, Liverpool Street area. Yeah, so quite accessible. If anyone's around, reach out to me and we'll arrange to go for some lunch or coffee or something.
Or pancakes.
And that includes you, Farine.
I'm coming down, Kush.
Yeah, okay. Let me know.
I will do. Thank you so much for joining us
Thanks
today.
so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Absolute honor to have you. I have learned so much because obviously I'm building this business. So I'm probably going to spend tonight going over my terms and conditions, or perhaps giving you a call, Kush, and say,
no worries.
am I protected?
Yeah, happy to do that for you, Farine.
Thank you so much. Thank you again, Kush.
Really appreciate it. Thank you.
There you have it, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Kush Birdi, managing partner at Birdi Co Solicitors. What an awesome guest he was. I just want to say a huge thank you to Birdi Co Solicitors for sponsoring this episode. If you are requiring any legal assistance, do head on to Birdi & Co.'s website, which is birdilaw.com. And you can also reach them on their social media platforms. So do make sure that you give them a follow right now. Kush shared some really vital information for business owners. If you are a business owner, do make sure to have your terms and conditions reviewed by Birdi Co, and make sure that you have in place all the relevant documents and agreements for your protection. Do also follow Law Simplified on all the social media platforms, inclusive of TikTok. Do head on to our website, which is www.law-simplified.co.uk, and check out our resources to make sure that you are always in contact with the law. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm your podcast host, Farine Ali, and I'm looking forward to seeing you on the next one. Thank you very much.